Okay, so let's talk about it. Welcome to Derry episode 3. I thought this was a pretty solid episode. I always do think the CGI is just a little bit too wonky. I think if they really went for more practical effects, a lot of this will work a lot better. So pretty much this episode, however, is showcasing to us and setting up, I think, a lot more for the next seasons that we're gonna get. This pretty much starts off in 1908 with a character named Francis, this young boy who goes to a freak show and gets freaked the fuck out, because this was one of those episodes that I think really starts off solid and strong with the scares, and then ultimately it dwindles down. So before we get into it, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. On the road to 50,000 subscribers, we are covering It Welcome to Derry every single week, and we also have a theory video coming out this week. So we do a breakdown of the episode, and then we also cover some theories of where we think this is going next. So in the next episode, I think we are definitely going to finally see Pennywise. Pennywise in the flesh is what we are getting, because this episode ended by showcasing our first very blurry photo of Pennywise. But we also saw him throughout the episode in several key instances. Like every key player in this series has seen him now. So this episode starts off with Francis, like I said already, a young boy who is at Derry, runs into a freak show and gets freaked out. Then he meets a young girl named Rose, and him and Rose start to develop a friendship. However, one day when they're playing out into the woods, he ventures out a little bit too far, and Rose tries to warn him. He does meet a very peculiar old man with no eye that turns into like a spider thing. Of course, we know this is it, taking the form of what he fears the most, and that was this one-eyed man that he saw at the freak show. And he runs out, and he's almost about to get got by this old man. That is until Rose comes with the slingshot that he had given to her earlier in the episode and whacks him right in the head with it. That old man is no more. Rose then tells him to not go into that forest. The thing stays in the forest, and Rose knows more about the land and everything. She is Native American and Francis is white, so Francis isn't really in tune with the land, right? And Rose knows that the creature won't come out of the forest, and it doesn't. Now we also see Dick Halloran and Major Hanlon now teaming up with the orders of the general to fly over to try and find the spot. As we know, the army is trying to find it. They want to harness its power because they know with its power you can give this very hard hitting fear, and they want to use it to win the Cold War. So we see Dick and Hanlon take to the skies to seek the answers, and Halloran is given the slingshot that Francis had at the beginning of the episode with Rose in order to use it as sort of almost a beacon of sorts to harness power. And he goes a little bit too deep because he starts to see a lot of the past, including a lot of soldiers getting killed, and also at one point Pennywise the dancing clown's heart from the circus, and we finally get to see Pennywise in all of his glory, just his eyes, his yellow beating eyes, and we hear his voice, and he is looking at Dick Halloran, which wasn't supposed to happen, Dick Halloran says, so they probably are getting into some very, very bad stuff now. He passes out and almost kills himself by jumping off the plane, but Major Hanlon's able to save him from doing so. Now we see that they are going to form a pretty good relationship. That is that Major Hanlon doesn't feel too sort of safe around Dick Halloran. He invites him to dinner with his wife, and this is where Halloran explains that he knows more about Major Hanlon than he's letting on because he has this gift. And as we know, Dick Halloran has The Shining, and I will do a full video on Dick Halloran this week because I think it's time we really discuss who this character is, so stay tuned for that episode later this week. But Major Hanlon also reveals that he knows that Dick Halloran was one of the masked men that came into his room that night to try and figure him out, and Hanlon tells Halloran to back off, even though Halloran tells him he's not going to do anything to him. He's actually kind of scared of Major Hanlon because Major Hanlon, of course, doesn't show fear. He's missing something in him that makes him not be scared, and that's why the army wants to use him and Halloran wants to be close to him. So we're going to find out what that is, I guess, in the next coming episodes that Dick Halloran is looking for. We also learned that the bodies that they dug up in the last episode belong to the Bradley Massacre, a massacre that Pennywise was actually a part of, and we'll discuss that in the theory videos because this is tying it up with the book as well. So we'll talk more about that in the theory video this week. But we finally see that the kids have decided the only way that Ronnie's father is going to be free is if they get like photograph proof that it is out there, and that's why Lily and Ronnie decide to get the help of Will and Rich to go out and find a way to summon it so they can get some pictures. Rich says he knows a way. His uncle used to practice Santeria and he's able to conjure up spirits, so that's what they're gonna do, and they go out into a graveyard to do so. But then Rich pretty much showcases that he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. This angers Ronnie and Lily, who sort of had a like faith in Will and Rich to do something and help them, but ultimately they can't. However, we do see that eventually it is out and about and the spirits are awakened as zombie ghosts sort of come out to terrorize all of them in the graveyard. They are able to get their pictures, and we also see that we have now a picture of Pennywise that Will is able to get while he is in the crypt. And they don't know who this is right now. He just says it's a clown, and that's pretty much where the episode ends. Also in this episode, we find out that Francis, the young boy at the beginning of the episode's actually General Shaw, and Rose is actually the shopkeeper that we met in the previous episode. We see that Shaw comes to confront Rose because he has gotten a cease and desist because the Native Americans on the land do not want them to digging up all of the things that they're digging up. It is their land and they don't want it to be taken. But General Shaw pleads to Rose to help him find something out there, and Rose seemingly will. So General Shaw says that he doesn't remember much about his childhood or what he's doing here, but I think he's letting Rose on because he's trying to harness this power. I think he remembers this when he was a child, and he knows that it possesses this like capability of igniting a tremendous fear in people, and he wants to harness that for the military. I think Rose also realizes that General Shaw might not be up to no good, but it's better to keep the enemy close than to sort of shoo him away and not really get to find out what's going on there. She even tells her son that she needs to find out what's going on there, and that's why they just can't tell the people to leave, because the more they push them, of course they're still going to continue with what they're doing, but it's best to get close to them and figure out what exactly do they want. So this really has set up the game for the finale, I think, because now everybody's starting to find out that there really is a force here, like our major players, right? Like Major Hanlon and Dick Halloran are out there looking for something, and now Hanlon believes that this something can be pretty catastrophic because he saw how Halloran acted over it. I think also, of course, Francis and Rose are going to be another set of group that are trying to find it for whatever reason it is. I think that the Native Americans know about the dangers of it and want to keep it contained. And I'm curious how it was able to be contained at one point to just the forest, because now it's able to run around loosely wherever it wants. And I think they're trying to go back to that instance where they can keep it sort of in a boundary where it doesn't escape. And that's what Rose wants. But I think the more that they keep digging and sort of like ripping maybe sort of shards that they've put down to keep it contained, they're scared that it's eventually just gonna go out even further, like the borders are being destroyed. So my thoughts here are that the Native Americans built something where they were able to keep it contained, but of course with people coming to take the land and destroying it, these borders or whatever they made were eventually destroyed, and that's why Pennywise was able to seep through into the town. Like, it wasn't able to do that before, but now it's able to do so because of the destruction that they're causing to the land. I think also that the kids aren't going to be believed by these pictures. They're going to think that they are making these up or are using some special effects just to scare everybody or to just let Ronnie's father off the hook. I know it seems like Ronnie is excited and everything that her father might finally be free, but I think that they're going to venture out. We've seen it already, into the sewers, because maybe they need more solid proof. And that's why they decide to go in there to try and get more answers. And I'm just curious how that's going to be, but we'll talk more about that in our theory videos. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Like I said, I really did enjoy the graveyard scene. I thought it was pretty cool at times, but I think the CGI is a little wonky here and there. Overall, though, a pretty solid episode. Definitely has given us more lore into Pennywise, especially with General Shaw and Rose. I think the Native Americans truly are going to be a key factor in trying to contain Pennywise in this next coming episodes. We have about 4 episodes left, so we'll talk more about that in our theories this week. I'm also curious to know if Pennywise actually was trying to get that picture taken. I feel like that was too easy, and I think he let Will do that just so he's able to seep into their lives a lot more. Who knows, maybe Will is being used by Pennywise as sort of a sleeper agent, because I feel like Will was able to make it out of there too easily, and I think that Pennywise realizes that this is his way to start to make them be scared of Pennywise the dancing clown. So now he can use that form against them, because he's always using whatever they're scared of. And now that the clown is out, now they're going to be thinking about it. It's going to be easier to use that form to attack them, which seems to be the form where he is more formidable. So I think Pennywise is really about to pop up in the next coming episodes, and I'm curious to see what his plan is as well. He knows about the military also, and he could be using that to his advantage to target Halloran and Hanlon and their families. So it's definitely looking like we're about to get a ton more of Pennywise, and I'm excited to see how this is going to go, especially for that finale. But more theories on that this week. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. As always, that is going to do it for me. I'll see you all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.